let's take you straight to Washington, D.C. now. That's where we find Professor Louis Caldera, who's former United States Secretary of the Army and distinguished adjunct professor of law at American University. Prof, thanks very much for your time here in South Africa. It's coming up for about 11 p.m. in Washington, so thanks very much for, in fact, staying with us. Let me start by, pointing out an interesting aspect of what's going on in the U.S. that many of us might miss. Part of the White House is actually barricaded as we speak in anticipation of unrest if things don't go according to plan. What do you read into that?
We've never had this before, but actually cities all across America have been barricaded. There were employers who told their employees to pack bags in case they needed to leave town, and they're boarding up windows in anticipation of possible unrest. And, actually, I put the blame on this and on Donald Trump because of the way that he throws gasoline on, issues like the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests against police brutality, where he has said that the only way he can lose is if there is a fraud, and that his supporters should be ready, to take to the streets if necessary. He's kind of done that with a wink and a nod. And so there's been a lot of intimidation of Democratic voters. And of course, there are plenty of people on the other side who say, well, if that's the way, if Trump is going to try to steal the election, then we have to protest. And so you have a very very combustible situation. But hopefully it will not come to that. Hopefully all those precautions will not have been necessary. It's going to take time to get a result. I'm not sure that it's going to come this evening, but we'll see.
Yeah, in fact, we've heard many different combinations and permutations that would lead us either having a very short evening or a very long evening. It appears that perhaps we're up for the latter. That being said, though, I've heard various commentators saying the very essence of democracy in the United States is at stake here. Is that an exaggeration, or does that resonate with you too?
That's how people feel in the United States, in part because Trump has been such a different president from anyone we've ever had, in that he breaks what are known as presidential norms. He does not really care about the institutions that we've had before. So, for example, using the White House as a prop for politics, no president has ever done that because it's understood that that would be inappropriate. He doesn't care about that. He just wants to wrap himself around the military, the White House, Air Force One, things that make him look presidential. Usually we have what we call the peaceful transfer of power, and it has always been one of the things that we've prided ourselves and hold out as an example to the rest of the world, that you can change governments without a coup or violence, that if your opponent wins, the outgoing president says, congratulations, the American people have spoken, we'll all unite now, and we'll support you and help you get off to a good start because your success is important to the country. That's what Obama said to Trump when Trump first came into office. That's what presidents always say. And yet Trump's different because he has said, the only way I can lose is if they steal the election. I want to throw out votes. I want them to stop counting and declare me the winner on election day if I'm leaning on an election day, even though under state law votes are supposed to continue to be counted until every vote is counted under state law. And some states allow up to 3 weeks to count all of the votes that were cast before by election day, but maybe coming in the mail and take a week or more to get there. Because Trump has so defied democratic norms, including how he's used the White House, the military, politicized so much of the government, there are a lot of Americans who think that our basic democracy is at risk. And in fact, that's why a lot of Republicans, many very senior Republicans, former Republican cabinet members, senators, governors, representatives are supporting Joe Biden. There's even the governor of Maryland is a Republican. the senator from Utah is a Republican, and they've publicly said that they're not voting for Donald Trump. That's a signal to lots of Republicans that that Joe Biden's okay. He's solid. He would be a good president, may not be a Republican, but would be a good president, would take care of the country. And two, that the reason they're not supporting Donald Trump because Donald Trump is a threat to the security of the nation and to our very democracy.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Prof, given all of that, there's absolutely no guessing who you're hoping would win. As things stand, Donald Trump has 108 of the electoral votes. Joe Biden has about 131 odd of the electoral votes. We both know you need 270 to get into the White House. At which point do people with your political leaning start worrying?
Well, everybody's worried. We're all biting our nails. Look, it looks like if Donald Trump wins some of the states that he has won before and holds the South, then Pennsylvania is going to play a tremendously important role. In many of these states, the Democrats did a terrific job getting people to vote early. Over 100 million people voted early. They really energized their base, and Biden had a very good, strong message, including that he would be a unifier and inviting Republicans and independents to support them. So I'm not sure that Biden could have done more. And part of the question will be, how do some of those independents break in the end? But in places like Pennsylvania, so if Trump holds on to the South, which it looks like he might, then Pennsylvania becomes a very critical state. And as I say again, that's a state where Democrats did a great job on the mail-in ballots, the early ballots, and Trump is doing better on election day, voting. The way the rules work for counting ballots is that first they release same-day results, then they release early voting results, then they release the mail-in ballots that were received before election day, by election day, and then last the ones that were received afterwards. And in right now there are lawsuits because of the pandemic that we're under. We shouldn't forget that we're in the midst of a global pandemic that has cost 230,000 Americans their lives. Many states increased, they enacted very liberal vote by mail provisions. So many states, not all, but many states expanded the opportunity to vote by mail. Many Americans took advantage of that opportunity so that they wouldn't have to expose themselves to the virus by standing in line and voting in person. But then there became disputes about when must those ballots be received.
Yeah.
And again, this is under state law,
right.
by election day or after. In Pennsylvania right now, the courts there's an agreement that they can be received up to 3 days after the election, but they're going to be segregated. And Trump is in court trying to keep all those votes from being counted because he doesn't want Americans to express their voice,
right,
because he thinks he does better under the other rules.
Absolutely. And I guess that really begs the question about what this means for the credibility possibly of this election. Thanks very much for your time and for weighing in. Certainly appreciate your insights. Professor Louis Caldera is the former U.S. Secretary of the Army, joining us there live from Washington. He mentioned Pennsylvania as one of the states to look out for. 37% of the votes in that state are already counted. We'll get you in on what that means.